Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Extra Time, the U.S. Men's National Team Soccer Podcast. I'm Tim. I'm feeling pretty upset with a lot of the comments that are going around on the internet, and I just wanted to take a second to respond to all of the negativity that we're hearing and all of the criticism that we're hearing from all the different content creators, the quotes from Landon Donovan, from Charlie Davies, from Herc Gomez, from everybody on every single podcast. And I just wanted to chime in and give my two thoughts because every time I go to, just kind of follow something online or look at something online, I'm getting myself even more worked up. And so it's time to create an episode and make an outlet for that. All of that is coming up on this episode of Extra Time. So in the last episode, Ryan and I were chatting pretty briefly about, if you had just looked at CONCACAF results for the Gold Cup, or not the Gold Cup, the Nations League, over the last time, 3-4 cycles of it. If you were to say that that one team was going to win back-to-back years, back-to-back cycles, back-to-back tournaments, and then you were going to say that team was going to win 3 times, and then you were going to say that team was going to win 4 times, you'd be looking at the odds and going, there's just no way. It would be cut and dry, pretty simple. The Vegas betting odds would be through the roof. There's just no way. And yet, despite that, and despite the United States failing to win 4 in a row, we're losing our minds. It doesn't matter that half of our starting lineup is out. It doesn't matter that we have a new coach. It doesn't matter that we played a bunch of brand new tactics. It doesn't matter that the game doesn't matter. It doesn't matter there's no qualifying. None of these things seem to matter because all that matters is that the players went on the field, they put on a crap performance, and so now we're all up in arms about the whole thing. And don't get me wrong. Performance is lackluster. Sure. It's disappointing. We were all expecting to see more. We got Diego Luna putting on the only performance I think anyone was excited about. But we can't just overlook everything else. It doesn't make any sense to me that we're going to take the stances that we're taking just to get... It makes sense. Everybody's saying what they're saying so that they can get clickbait. And that's the most frustrating thing. It's the most insane thing for me when it comes to U.S. soccer is that we don't give 2 craps about anything ever. Like, the guys win, and it's like, good, you're supposed to be winning. This is great, But then we kept winning for a long time, and then everybody had to kind of, stop with the nonsense and kind of admit, oh, hey, these guys are actually really good. These guys are kind of better than we were when we were playing. And then as soon as we lose, it's like, wow, are you serious, man? You guys really thought these guys were good? You guys are overhyping these people. Don't mind the last 5 years, right? Because there's 5 years of domination of U.S. soccer. We have 1 poor World Cup performance to the Netherlands. It wasn't a great performance, but at least it was the Netherlands. Then we bounce back, right? Tim Weah punches a guy and gets a red card in Copa America. Yes, big tournament. We're more upset that we didn't get to watch the USA go deeper in that tournament because it's such a big deal and because of the squad that we have. But we just pushed all the blame on the wrong things. If Tim Weah doesn't punch him in the face, we're not even having the conversations that we're having right now. So the Copa America loss gets all these people coming back out of their swamp. And everybody going, oh my gosh, they still have a chance to be relevant again. And so then there goes to criticism. And so now we lost a coach. And now it's like, oh, the United States has got to spend money on a great coach. And we got to shell it out and do whatever for the federation. And then we get this coach and we spend a bunch of money on him. And we have this world caliber coach. And it doesn't matter at all because all we want is this dude to get fired. because we don't understand the dynamics of anything, and nobody who's making content wants to chat about it. So nobody wants to chat about the U.S. Soccer Federation and all of the nonsense that has been happening ever since the fallout when we renegotiated contracts with the women's team. okay? Because if you're just looking at what's been going on in the world, then you know that behind the scenes, there's a whole lot of let's make everybody present and feeling good and way less of the business talk. We're not here to win games. We're not here to like develop whatever. We're here to give everybody a shot and do what we can. And we're going to make money in all the wrong ways. Right? We're going to make money in all the wrong ways. And it's crazy. Okay? I was listening to Pat McAfee just because, I don't really follow any of the sports that he really chats about, but I just like him and his boys and like the way they have conversations about it. And they're just, super positive. And they're that kind of like masculine positivity that I think we need to have, right? They're not ragging on each other as much as they're like, having fun in a lighthearted way, but really like, hey, we're here for you. And one of the comments that he made, which really stuck out to me, he's talking about, the NBA and Major League Baseball. And he says, if you want your sport to be successful, your sport is the most successful when your big name players are doing big name things, right? Like, why is baseball so hot right now? Well, because Shohei Ohtani's crushing it. Paul Skeens is crushing it, right? When you look at football, right, in the NFL, when your superstars are putting on superstar performances, that draws eyeballs. The United States men's national team already has their back against the wall with how limited their games are. You combine that with the lack of media focus and media attention that we get, and all of the shenanigans I was just talking about in the Federation, right? It shouldn't be surprising to anybody that something is going on behind the scenes that is creating the women's team to fill their stadiums and not the men's team. And I'm not saying the women shouldn't be filling their stadium. The women are fun to play. They're dynamic. They're winning. People want to watch teams that win, right? It's a bunch of young, really talented women. They are winning games. They are playing in competitive matches. A lot of them are in their prime. There's a bunch of young talent coming up. We have a world-class caliber coach. We're just not losing. Like, it's fun to watch. So our federation has gone all in on that. There's not the same kind of support for the men's team. There is not the same kind of support. But, Tim, it was the same venue. No, right. So you put the same two teams in the same venue. We know that, on average, men's sports are drawing more audience than women's sports, right? Soccer being this exception where more people want to watch the women's team. We knew the fallout from all this other stuff of, like, the women are better, so the women should get more of this stuff. Okay, but the women lost to U15 Houston kids, right? Like, and I'm not here to have that conversation. That's a completely different conversation. The women are winning games, so people show up. They're entertaining. They're exciting. The men are not. Right? I'm going back to Paul McAfee's statement. When the women's players stood on their heads and had just lights out performances, it drew crowds. It drew eyeballs. It's still drawing eyeballs. SoFi Stadium had a ton of people in it for their She Believes Cup. Now, if you took that statement and you recognize, okay, so during this Nations League, the U.S. men's national players didn't come, like the superstars didn't show up, right? That would explain not having fans in the future. It doesn't explain not having fans that game. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You go to play Panama, no one shows up. You had superstars there, right? Like Christian Pulisic is still there. We're down 5 starters. I mean, maybe that's what it is. It's in California. There's a lot of political nonsense going on, so maybe. There's a lot of other factors going on. Another thing that really irritates me is this hypocrisy that we have with these players are overhyped and they're clearly not the most talented generation of players that we have. Right? They're just not as talented as we think they are. Okay? That's been the overall theme, is that these players are not as talented as we thought they were. Okay, well, if they're not as talented as we thought they were, then why are we so upset that they lost? It shouldn't be that big of a deal that they lost if they're not that good. If they're not as talented as your generation, and they're not as talented as the players who played before, and you guys were struggling to beat Panama, and you guys were getting 4-5-0 shellackings by Mexico, why are we so upset? Why are we so worried about it? If we're not as good as we were back then, And you guys were worse back then, and your results were worse. And we had less excitement and enthusiasm about the U.S. men's national team. Then what are we so worried about? The reality is you're making a statement to get clickbait, and you're wrong. You can't make the statement you're making. Both of those things can't be true. This is the most talented generation of soccer players that we've ever had. Landon Donovan said, I'm so sick of hearing how talented this group of players is and all these amazing clubs they play for. If you aren't going to show up and actually give a crap about playing for your national team, then decline the invite. Talent is great. Pride is better. Buddy, you were never in a position where you had to compete for your spot. Like, ever. And you were never in a position where you were going to play for massive club teams overseas. Like, you played for like a couple stints on loan to Everton. You did fine while you were there, but you certainly weren't getting the recognition that any of these guys are getting. And so you just keep your mouth shut and you keep your mouth shut, you keep your mouth shut. Why is Landon Donovan starting a podcast now? Why now? He's been retired for a decent amount of time. 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 years. I can't remember. It's been a while. He could have started this before. But you're trying to get relevant now because U.S. soccer is bigger than it's ever been and it's growing. But the problem that we have is that all of these content creators are just focusing on the negativity. Do you understand that no one is going to watch this team that you apparently love? Because anytime, like, we know so little about U.S. soccer that you're going to hop on there and you're going to be like, okay, like, who are the players in U.S. soccer, right? We know Landon Donovan, Tim Howard, boom. Podcast pops up. We watch a podcast. These guys are terrible. These guys are overrated. We're not going to do this. We're going to host a World Cup. It's going to be embarrassment, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so if I don't know anything about soccer, why should I watch that? Right? Like, I don't care about football at all. If somebody was like, yo, man, like, do not, like, the Browns are terrible, don't watch the Browns this season. Okay, bet. I'm not putting on a Browns game. It's not happening. Right? Chiefs, Eagles are going to be crazy. Okay, put it on. Right? Same thing with the NBA. I don't know any NBA teams. But if people are like, yo, the Lakers, they just got Luka, and he's going to be, wild, and then you're going to play the Golden State Warriors, like, that's going to be a game. Maybe I turn it on. I don't know anything about baseball, but I'm going to watch the World Series because Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge are going head-to-head, and it's supposed to be crazy. So I watched it. But then when U.S. soccer rolls around, the only time we get a chance to celebrate, the only time we get to put all this on display, all of the people that we're going to look up are out there going, guys, this is not worth watching this. These guys are horrible. No one was doing that to you. The media was hyping you guys up. We got Jermaine Jones, and we got Landon Donovan, and Michael Bradley, and we're going to make a run. And you guys were not good. We just weren't, not only were we not good on the world stage, you guys are just not as good as these guys are. Like, we were legitimately going, we are always in the group of death. We're going to hope and pray. I mean, I remember every World Cup draw going to all the commentators, and the commentators being like, United States is going to struggle to make it out of this group. They're like looking for the win. Like, well, we're going to have to maybe try to draw here and maybe try to draw here, and then we're going to get a loss, and we're just going to, maybe win the last game or try to squeak one out here, and we're just going to hope for the best. The last World Cup draw, we were like, literally, my dog is trying to eat stuff from underneath his microphone. He's flipping it up. The last World Cup draw, we were literally like half of the other groups. It's like a guarantee that we're out. This group, it was like almost a guarantee that we were going to get out. And everybody that they asked, Alexi Lawless, Rob Stone, when they brought in like the foreign commentators, right? When they were talking, everybody was like, man, if you'd move the United States over like one group, two groups, like there were like 2 groups out of all 8 that it was not a guarantee the United States was going to get out. Go back and look at World Cup draws. I mean, we had like, Azerbaijan and Slovenia or something, and we struggled to get out of that group, right? Landon Donovan scores this 90, like, it was exciting, and it was fun, like, in the moment, but it was so stressful. That's not the kind of soccer that you want to watch. It's not the soccer that's going to, like, get fans involved, right? Like, people who know nothing about soccer, who are going to just sit in front of the TV and watch a game where nothing is going to happen, because that is what happens a lot in soccer games if you're not a soccer fan, right? If you don't understand the dynamics and the tactics and the ball movement, you're sitting here watching a game where nothing is happening. Okay. Yes, it's the World Cup. Sure, we're going to string it around. Okay, so we score this like great goal and we go through. And then we just play like pack it in, for however long we're going to pack it in for, and then we're going to get beat by like the first team. And that was the narrative every time. As soon as a good quality team showed up, we got beat. Now the United States is in a position where it's like, no, they are the good quality team. Go look at the FIFA World Rankings. We get destroyed in the Nations League. You think any of those other CONCACAF teams got ranked above us? No. Because all the people who know soccer, who are looking at the ratings, who are making the voting, are going, yeah, no, I still know what their roster is going to look like in 2026. It's still better than Mexico's roster, still better than Canada's roster, still better than Panama's roster. We talked about this in the last episode. Put all the players from CONCACAF in a pool. Start drafting them. You take Alphonso Davies from Canada. We're having pointless conversations. We're trying to get this clickbait. We're trying to stay relevant, and we're doing it. We're biting our nose to spite our face. Right? After the game, Stu Holden and David Mossy both stand out on the field. They're both talking about how we have to just accept the facts, right? This was in Alexi Laus's State of the Union podcast. You can go watch it. Go look it up. They were like, we have to just simply accept the fact that this team is just not as good as we thought they were. Right? They were winning, and they were winning, and they were winning. We just kind of got used to this, and now here's reality, and reality is setting in, and we have to accept that they're not that good. What was happening for the last 4 years was not reality? Were we not beating these teams? We didn't draw Uruguay? Like it didn't happen? We didn't have that 2-1 friendly against Germany? I think it was 2-1. It might have been 3-1. We pulled a bunch of guys at the end. Like, these games didn't happen? What do you mean where did this turn come from? Where all of a sudden everybody's like, hey, these guys just really aren't that good. And we just kind of got to get over that fact. I want you to think about something. Put yourself in the shoes of our players. You're making millions of dollars overseas. Millions of dollars overseas. Okay? Nations League. It's relevant to your fans. It's relevant to your country. It might not be relevant to you. We can have that argument and that conversation later about how relevant it should be to the players, but just think to yourself, millions of dollars, hardly anything for the United States. You're going out there. You know that 5 of your key starting players are injured. You've made like 7 or 8 changes to the roster, and you're about to go out there and play Panama. You don't think that with all of the different people in your ears, with the agents, with the other team, with the fans, with the coach, that somewhere along the lines, maybe it got communicated like, hey guys, this is going to look a little bit different. We're going to try this tactic. We're going to try this strategy. And if it doesn't work, hey, it doesn't work. We're going to move on. Right? And you try something new, because the reality is we beat Panama outside of that last minute goal. Okay? So let's not get this wrong. Panama did not do anything. They had 1 shot on goal, and it was the very last goal, and it went in. 1. You're going to trash talk us and say, well, you lost to Panama, you got out. You didn't. We didn't get outplayed. We didn't get outperformed. We got whatever. And we're playing like our C team. Okay? And you got a bunch of A guys that are probably playing to B level standards because maybe they're worried about not getting hurt. Tim, why would they be worried about not getting hurt? Well, look what happened to Alphonso Davies. You think Bayern Munich is thrilled that Alphonso Davies tore tendons in his knee? In a game that literally didn't matter, a third-place game in the Nations League? Ooh. You're going to tell me that when we played Canada, that thought isn't in everybody's minds? Watch the Pulisic documentary. Just the first episode. Right? I watched the first episode. I'm probably going to work my way through it. They talk a little bit about that bias towards American players overseas. And it will really get you fired up because they go to England and they just interview English fans. And they say, like, they ask them, like, what do you think about U.S. soccer? Right? They say, we don't think they're very good. They ask them to name players. No one that they interview can name a single player that plays for the United States men's national team. Okay? Now, this is something that we need to draw attention to this, and we need to start having a conversation about. Everybody who likes soccer in the United States could tell you who Cristiano Ronaldo is, Wayne Rooney is. You could probably go through, Marcus Rashford, you could start naming players, Phil Foden, Grealish, right? Nobody over there can name our players. Which is fine. We're going to get in there, right? Because on the world stage in the World Cup, like we haven't lost to England yet. So it's crazy to me that the English people don't think any of this stuff of us because we dominated them in the last World Cup, right? But it's more of that, as you look at it, that just the overall feel. We won't call it football. The rest of the world calls it football. Their soccer, right? So if that's already the case, and we already have Americans who believe, now there's no evidence, this is all anecdotal, emotional stories, who believe that if they perform as well as another player, right, the same caliber as a foreign player, the foreign player is going to get picked over them. So they have to outperform everybody else. Why are they going to risk it? They're not going to risk it. They're going to pack it in. They're going to do that. So, of course, Diego Luna is going to go all out. What has he got to lose? He puts on a good performance. Maybe somebody tries to pull him up and go somewhere else. Euro tournament going on at the same time. That's for qualifying. It's a very exciting tournament. It's a very prestigious tournament, right? I don't actually know. I can't actually say for sure if it's for qualifying. I don't know how their qualifying works. I thought it was, but it might not be. But like European qualifiers, like they actually have to try and qualify. It's why when we watched our Hex was exciting because our players were playing for something and trying to qualify. Right now, they're just like, hey, guys, like we're still like a year out. Like we don't know what's being said behind the scenes. We don't know what we're dealing with the Federation. There's just a whole bunch of nonsense. But it's crazy if we're not going to sit and at least entertain the thought that all of these players stood around with Pochettino, and Pochettino was like, we're going to try this out, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But, like, we can't afford to lose anybody else, right? And then they tried it, and honestly, like, if you think about this, and I think, I got to give my brother some credit, even though it feels kind of weird. Not using all your subs feels silly in hindsight, but, like, they scored in the very last shot of the game. It's very well aware that Pochettino could have been like, all right, tactics are still working. We're really grinding these guys out. They're starting to get tired. We're going to go into extra time. We're going to make these changes. We're just going to, let Reina go 3 and, knock one in, and we'll come out of here and we'll go play Mexico in the final. Mexico didn't look that great either against Panama. Canada did not look that great against us. Did everybody get better? Did everybody get worse? Who knows? Right? The Call What You Want podcast, Chuck Davies and Jimmy Conrad were like asking people to get, say something that was going to make people triggered. And people were talking about, who's better than Landon Donovan and all this other stuff. There's like I get so many thoughts in my head that I say nothing when people bring this stuff up. I just can't believe we're still having conversations like this. Just list all of the players that are on our current roster and just start drafting our dudes. Right? So you take all the guys that are currently playing and everybody who's ever played for the United States. Okay? You get first pick. Who are you going to take? Now, I say Christian Pulisic. My brother gave only one answer that I thought maybe, which was Tim Howard. That was the only other player that I was like, you know what? It's probably true. Tim Howard was a stud. Absolutely phenomenal. He's like one of the slots that you're going to go, yeah, we don't have a current goalie who's that good. We might not have a current goalie for a while. But Tim Howard was that good. Where are you drafting Landon Donovan? You don't think Landon Donovan... here's a hot take to trigger him. I think Landon Donovan's a bench player right now. I think Landon Donovan comes off the bench, given the talent of the Kearns men's team. But Tim, the performance in the last game, you're really going to tell me? Guys, why are you so worried about that one game? We're so worried about the one game, this one performance that we had, this one little window. I know it was 2 games, but this one window, that's what we're so worried about? We got to stop. We're not going to get other people to want to change. Like, Tab Ramos went through, and, everybody's talking about, oh, well, the youth development program is bad, and this is bad, and this is bad. Yeah, the Federation is bad. So have more conversations about the Federation and this good old boys club that we have with everybody just being friends with everybody and just kind of getting all these other people in. Instead of having real conversations and trying to model like what the rest of the world is doing. Because we took to the Federation that development coach from Sunderland. We got to start to see some of those results. We got to start to see the Youth Development Academy pick up. But the things that we can do, and people in my position can do, is not just trash us and make it sound like it's not worth watching. Now, you could probably go through and tag it and be like, Tim, you're the person who said it's going to be really hard to buy 2026 World Cup tickets. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to buy the tickets to fly across country and go because the World Cup's going to be so expensive. If the World Cup was in Cincinnati, I would buy tickets and go. If the World Cup was in Columbus, I'd buy tickets and go. If it was, I'd buy tickets and go. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about would you just buy tickets. This is the difference between like would you buy regular season's tickets to watch the Browns or playoff tickets. I haven't watched hardly any walleye games in Toledo. The playoffs are coming. I'm going. Like you're going to go when it matters. You're going to watch when it matters. And I'm talking about the difference between like watching and being invested and not watching at all. People, if you're watching this podcast, you're watching no matter what. You're one of those people, right? You're in that like 1% of fans, 10% of fans. I'm your 1%. We're trying to reach the people who are not consistently watching, who didn't know the game was on. You know why they don't know the game's on? Because it's on in Spanish, and it's on in Paramount Plus, and nobody has it, or it's on Univision, and no one has it, and no one knows. But when the women play, you get to watch the women on ESPN. Now, did the women earn it? Yes. Are the women putting up better results? Yes. You want to boost commitment to U.S. soccer? You got to get it on. You have to be able to turn it on and watch it. But we're not going to get TV deals the way that we're doing with all the streaming. It's just not going to happen. It's absolutely not going to happen. So we have a responsibility to the other fans, to the players, to look at this team and, yes, be fair to them. Pick them apart when they make the mistakes, criticize them when they do whatever, but do it through the lens of, like, reality, that we're going to be somewhere, that we're going to go somewhere, that we're going to make something happen. We are being way too critical and way too harsh on this team to put them at a status that they did not earn. Again, I think it's just people contradicting themselves. You're being so critical of this team. What justification you have to be so critical? They must be that good. Because if they weren't that good, you wouldn't talk about them so much and you wouldn't be so critical. If they weren't as talented as they were, you wouldn't chat about it. You can go to the English Premier League site and look up the stats. Jedi Robinson is the best left back. Tyler Adams hasn't even played a full season, and he's still ranking in the top 20 for defensive midfielders. Christian Pulisic was actually just used in a positive comparison when another striker, I believe, or winger for AC Milan was told he was half the player Christian Pulisic was. Pulisic let other players take penalties and they missed, and it's becoming an internet, like people are talking about it. Don't sit here and get up here, Donovan, and say, oh, I'm so sick of hearing how talented. Give me reason that they're not talented then. Give me reason. You can't. Because all these players are better than we were, and it's the direction that we're going. And if we want to see soccer continue at this pace, if we want to see soccer continue to grow, then we have to recognize it. We have to be fair. We have to give credit where credit is due, and we have to criticize them based on that. If you're criticizing them based on that high standard, then acknowledge it. Because if you put this team next to the last two World Cup teams, this team is better. And it's not even a question. If I just laid out, if I went 10 years ago, right, 12 years ago, and I gave you the roster, 12 years ago, boom, roster. And then I went 8 years ago and gave you the roster, boom. And then I gave you the roster right now. Not the one that just played in the Nations League, the one that was in that World Cup, right, the roster right now. You're picking this one. You're picking the most recent roster. You might want a couple players from the other ones. You're not. You're just not going back and going, you know what, 12 years ago, man, we were studly. Let's take it. Because results aside, the way that we finished aside, they're just not as good. And that's a good thing. We shouldn't be upset about this. We shouldn't be, like, oh, my generation, whatever. Guys, it's fine. Alexander Ovechkin just broke Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal-scoring record. And Wayne Gretzky got up there and congratulated him and said records were made to be broken. If you love your sport and you love your country and you care about it, you should want to see people get better. That's why everybody's so upset. That's really what's going on. Everybody knows these guys are talented. Everybody knows. And that's why we're so frustrated. Because we want to see the results, because we know there's talent there. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Leave your comments down. If you guys want to see more videos like this, like and subscribe to the video. I really appreciate you guys checking it out. I'll catch you on the next one.